singleton class and immutable class in Java?
A singleton and a what?
Immutable class.
Okay. So the singleton class is for when you need to create just one instance of that class. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so that doesn't necessarily mean it's thread safe, but the immutable class or immutable object is one that's when it's created, it doesn't change. So after it's initialized.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And how to create our own custom immutable class?
So the immutable class would need to be, you can use a final on the class itself,
Mm-hmm.
and you would make, so you would want it to be extended, and then if you've got values in there, you would want them to be final. So after they're initialized, they it doesn't change. And then make them private, and you would have no setters
Mm-hmm.
and only getters.
Okay. Can we override a private or static method in Java?
Yes. Wait. Private? No. I'm sorry. Private is not overridable. Static um, would be would not be overridable because it that's has to do with object inheritance. The overriding.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What's the difference between final, finally, and finalize?
So the final is what you can mark class, method, or a field as, indicating that they should not change.
Mm-hmm.
And the fin- so the finalize is a method in the object uh, class. So every object that's created will have extends objects, so they get that finalized class, and it's used to close out um, any resources right before garbage collection is completed. And then the finally is a block in the exception handling of the try catch, which will always run no matter what. Um, so it's used to close out resources.
Okay. Mm-hmm. How we can create our own exception? Like, what are the different types of exception handling in Java?
So you have the the checked exception, which is one which is checked at runtime, and what happens there is you if the exception extends the except or has the uses the exception, it will need to be checked. That is, at runtime, it needs to be handled. So it either needs to be caught or thrown, um, which happens the throwing in, or throws in the method signature. Um, the other one is the unchecked, which is the runtime exception. Um, so what we can do is when we create our own custom exception, we would extend either of those interfaces depending on whether we wanted to be checked or unchecked.
Mm-hmm. So in a Java, there are some functional interface added. So can you tell me what is the functional interface and what are the predefined functional interfaces in Java?
Um, so the fu- so what was the I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Yeah. So in Java 8, there are some functional interfaces added, right?
Mm-hmm.
So can you name some functional interfaces added in Java 8 and can you tell me why we need a functional interface in Java?
Okay, so the functional interface is an interface that has just one abstract method, and this is used in lambdas. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so the lambda will be able to infer what the method name is without having to know it, so that it's used to have a kind of workaround for functional programming in Java. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so some of the built-in ones are the function, functional, or the function, the predicate. Um, there's also a, a bifunctional and like the consumer, so it takes an input with
Mm-hmm.
or without an output, and then supplier would be the opposite, no input
Mm-hmm.
but supplies an output. Um, so they're already kind of like built in, so you don't have to keep creating your own functional interfaces for everything you do
Mm-hmm.
by using generics.
So what is the optional class introduced in Java 8?
Um,
What's the use of optional class?
so the optional is used for if you're not sure if you're going to be returning something from an operation, you can have it wrap basically that object in a optional object, which helps you avoid null checks, which can get, no, they're not really that good to do. So you can check if it's
Mm-hmm.
null, and if it's not null, you've got a value there.
Okay. What is the difference between a map and flat map in strings?
A map and a what?
Map,
Oh, flat map.
flat. Yeah.
Yeah. So for the streams, the map, basically you can take different things and like if you wanted to take uh, a string and map it to an integer because you want the length of the string, you can use the map uh, function or the map method. If you happen to have a stream wrapped in a stream, you could use the flat map to pull
Mm-hmm.
that nested stream out.
Mm-hmm. So do you remember any what are the some intermediate operations and a terminal operation we use in a string? What's the difference between intermediate operation and terminal operation?
The immediate uh, intermediate operations are ones that are done before the stream closes out, and it returns a stream so that it can be further processed. And you can have any number, zero up to as many as you want. The terminal operations will not return a stream. They normally return a different object or something, and there's only one of those that can be done, and then that closes out the stream.
Okay. Can you name some uh, intermediate and terminal operations?
Yeah,
Do you remember?
so filter would be a big one. Maps another intermediate operation. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so the filter takes a predicate, so you can filter like things out of a list. And we already talked about the map. And then for terminal, you there's like collect, so you can collect to like an array or to a list, to a set, um, and also another terminal method would be the for each loop. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah,
What's the difference between array list and copy on write array list?
array list is going to be, so it'll be ordered but it's not, and so is the copy on write array list. The the array list is not thread safe, where the copy on write is a thread safe during the write process. So it will copy. Basically, it has different portions of the array list that it can write to, so multiple threads won't interact with each other.
Okay. Mm-hmm. What's the difference between a hash map and concurrent hash map?
The hash map is not thread safe. It is it's a fail fast collection, and it's a set, so it's a key value pair, and it uses hashing to come up with the keys for each bucket in the set. So I'm sorry, I just had a
Okay.
yeah
Yeah.
okay. Concurrent, yeah, concurrent is the same thing except it's thread safe, and it's uh, basically used to, obviously, in threading situations, and it's a fail safe iterator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's move towards the Spring Boot Spring side.
Okay.
So, can you tell me what is the IOC container?
So that's the inversion of control container. It's what takes care of the Spring auto wiring. So basically, you can use auto wiring to create instances of objects so that they're loosely coupled, instead of having to use the new operator to create a new object yourself. So the IOC takes care of doing that for the dependency injection, that is the creation of the objects.
Mm-hmm. How many ways we can inject the dependency in Spring Boot?
So there's field, constructor, and setter injection. Um, Most of the time you want to use constructor injection, because you know that your object will be, or should be, constructed correctly. It makes it
Mm-hmm.
better for testing.
Mm-hmm. Uh, in a Spring Boot we called beans, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, what is the scope of the bean? Like, what are the scope?
So the scope of the bean is would be uh, a singleton, a prototype, and then you have the different ones that are by the method, or I'm sorry, by how by the
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
got it, or do you want more?
So,
Okay.
no, no, but it's sufficient. Got it. So, what is the difference between at the rate component annotation, at the rate service, at the rate repository, and at the rate controller?
Repository, controller, and what was the service? So
Yeah.
yeah, so those are all uh, use or those are all descendants of the component annotation, which is in Spring. Uh, Basically wires different useful things together. So for the components, things that'll be used, like you said, the repository, the service, and the controller. So the controller is where the requests come in from wherever on the network, and then the service is something that can act as a service, maybe like called internally to get another type of bean. Um, and the repository is used for Hibernate to have the repository um, where you use like the JDBC underlying to make that connection. Um, the repository just adds on a an exception, a checked exception. Yeah.
How we handle the exception in the Spring?
How to handle it in Spring? Um, you can use your own exceptions uh, anywhere with, um, or you can use the at controller advice as a way to do global exception handling.
So, okay, controller advice. So, if I want to write my custom exceptions in a Spring Boot, so I can write that using these annotations on global level, or how to create. Can I write that using the exception
Um,
annotations?
yes, I believe so. I haven't done it, but I would use the
Mm-hmm.
like I would still use the all the custom components that are used within the regular annotations.
What's the difference between at the rate request param and at the rate path variable annotation?
At the request and path,
At that, yeah, at the rate request param and at the rate path variable.
param and path variable. Uh,
Yes.
the the request parameter is one that comes after the query parameter, so after the question mark, the key values, and then the path is uh, embedded in the path itself.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What is the advantage of microservice over traditional monolithic architecture?
So the advantage is that you've got a lot of you've got a lot of services that can be split out, kind of like what we were talking before with the service annotation, and it will make it so you can work on these services individually, and then you don't have to, if something goes down, you don't have to bring the whole um, application or a large part of the application down to do work. You can just bring one service down and stand it back up. So this makes it really good for when you want to add services during network high traffic or things like that. Also, you can use different languages. It makes it language agnostic.
Mm-hmm. How will you handle the security in a microservices?
Um, so that was a little more outside of my scope, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've used a little bit of the uh, JWT, so
Mm-hmm.
for the OAuth and things of that nature.
Okay. Mm-hmm. But do you know basic difference between what is the authentication and authorization basically?
Yeah, oh yeah. So author authentication is who are you? Authorization
Mm-hmm.
is what can you do?
Mm-hmm. Okay. If a particular user have access of particular resource, and he want to access that resource,
Hmm.
so what he needs? Authorization he needs or authentication he needs?
For a particular resource, you would need you would first, well, kind of both. You would need to be first authorized or authenticated, then authorized. But I'm assuming you're asking about authorization.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's the role that you can, or permissions that you have. There you go.
Okay. How the microservices currently in your project are communicating? What are the different ways microservice communicate with each other?
So you can use different things like Kafka or Redis. I'm sorry, not Redis. RabbitMQ. So you,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, you can set up like those
These
queues
are the
and. Hmm?
asynchronous way, right? This is the
Oh,
asynchronous.
so in the synchronous, you could use the just like the REST template and make calls to other web services or microservices.
So currently, what you are using for asynchronous communication, Kafka.
No, I was using some just like REST template. I haven't. I've used Kafka in the past.
So if you want to consume any API, third-party API or integrate any API, how you use a REST template in that case?
Uh, so you would need to do. You would have to also do the authorization and all that through the REST template. I don't recall right off.
Any method you remember because we use in a REST template?
I'm sorry. What was?
Any method you remember in a REST template
Oh,
you use?
yeah. Uh, Get entity, I believe, is one. So it would be a
Mm-hmm.
HTTP get actual method call.
Okay. Mhm. Okay. What is API gateway?
That would be a server that sits at the I'll call it the front of the mic in front of the microservices where it handles all the incoming calls. This can be good for a single point for uh, to check um, authorization or I'm sorry authentication as the person's coming in, and then also it can be used as a load balancer to be able to send traffic to different places as needed. Um, it can also help in logging. So
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, it's got a number of uses.
How API gateway know that which particular service he has to route that request? How he defines?
Um, yeah, so that's done through the Eureka naming server, or at least like in the cloud for
Mm-hmm.
Spring Boot Cloud, and
Mm-hmm.
it'll check that naming server and see who's up and how do I get in touch with them.
How you monitor currently your microservices if any particular services fail? Like you have 10 services and one particular service is fail,
Uh,
and because of so how you monitor that? How you get to know that which particular service have an issue?
yeah, so um, through the use of Spring, um, the 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 Spring endpoints
Mm-hmm.
actuator, and then you can have like different logging set up. I mean, you can just do like some more simple sort of like elk
Mm-hmm.
stack logging, and then
Mm-hmm.
you can set up different things with you know
Mm-hmm.
well like AWS. I mean, you can have your own
Okay.
alerting and
So
monitoring
you are
there.
using any Prometheus or Grafana, something like ELK stack you are
Yeah,
apart from
yeah, some.
Prometheus Grafana.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you have used Grafana.
Yes.
Okay. what is a circuit breaker and what are the different states of circuit breaker?
A circuit breaker is something that's used to keep the whole. So if you've got several services hooked together, it keeps the whole. If you have one call coming in and four services are dependent on that or that one call, if one service goes down, this makes it so the whole call doesn't fail. Um, Basically, it'll circuit break. It'll short and it will take that one service out. And so there's three different states. Or it'll be, if it fails, it'll open. I'm sorry, it'll open the breaker to keep from going to that to that failed service. So there's three different states. There's open, closed, and half closed. Uh, so if it's open, the 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 circuit is everything is normal traffic going. If it's half closed, that means it seems like there's something that's going down, and so it will have parameters set up as to how many calls it can make or how many so or how long it will go with failed calls before it goes into a completely failed state.
I'm giving you one Java 8 coding question. I just pasted in the chat. Can you share your screen?
Yeah.
You can use any ID if you want. Like you want to use any ID, IntelliJ or Eclipse.
Okay. Hold on. Where'd your? I'm looking for the chat. I don't.
Oh, sorry, I have pasted. I'm not seeing it. Yeah, I just sent it. So the question is, you have to find the most repeated element in the array list with its count.
Okay.
You have to use Java 8 for that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Java 8 or above Java 8 version, like 17 or 20, whichever you are coming.
Okay. Here, I'll just.
So you understood the question, right? Do you have any confusion about the question?
No. I'm fine. I'm just thinking about what I'm doing real fast. I'm just going to create a new class. Oh. yeah, I was.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, I was. I'm not sure. So,
Yeah, so you are taking stream, yeah.
mm, yeah. So what I was thinking was filter it, but um,
Take your time, like if you have any confusion, then we will discuss that.
I'm sorry.
You can continue if you have any, like if you stuck somewhere, we will check.
Okay. Okay. Um,
So, right, you have taken as a stream, right? So, you have to collect there somewhere, right? So,
hmm.
right, I'm giving some hints to you.
Yeah. Yeah. I, yeah. I get. I think I understand you're saying to collect, but to another stream. Um, yeah. I'm not.
You are not able to.
No, not right now. No.
Okay. Can you explain me logic if possible? What you will do? What's your approach?
So I was just going to see if I could filter out for just the cars, but then that doesn't make sense because that's only one thing. Um, so I would need something to count the number of the number of times an element is repeated.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I mean, okay, so a really, really roundabout way of doing it, I could do take this list and put it to a set so I get all the what do you call it unique ones out
Mm-hmm.
after the set.
Mm-hmm.
Then I just go through and iterate and just count, okay, how many of this do I have, how many of that. And so as I go through the list, if one has more than the other, then I just replace that other. And then by the end of the list, I'll have whatever has the most repeated amount. Does that make sense?
Okay. Mm-hmm. That approach we can do that.
Okay. Is this, are we
But
done?
in Java 8, there is a more concise way to
Oh, I
solve
know.
that.
I'm sure there is.
Yeah. Okay, no issue.
If
Uh,
yeah, if I got jumped on Google, it'd probably be like, oh, okay, I got it.
yeah. So apart from this, you work on AWS.
Um, I've worked some. It's been a little bit, but yeah, I've got some experience with the EC2 Um, using basically a lot of the stuff I do is using the Dockerization, and then maybe like some Kubernetes to do a little bit of scaling. Since I'm really more into the dev environment, it's I'm not really there for AWS that much.
Okay. So do you know how many there are different types of EC2 instances are there, right? So do you remember how many types of instances are there in EC2?
No, no, I don't.
Have you worked on S3,
Some,
simple storage?
yeah, this, yeah, um, just just kind of like that is S3, and then you make it where it's available for the container for the EC2 to use. And I know there's different ways of that. I'm getting a little beside myself. So yeah,
Okay. So do you know what is like how you are using ECS in your project, like AWS ECS?
um, I haven't used that one.
You said Docker, so that's why I
You said
asked you.
ECS.
Yeah, yeah. EKS and ECS.
Oh,
Have you used EKS?
oh,
You use
the
EKS?
yeah, yeah. I know what you're saying. Yeah. So the, I mean, kind of like the Kubernetes, where you would just have different. What are the minimum containers you want to keep up? What are the maximum? Um, how do you want to do routing? Where do you want to put the containers? Um, the zones and regions. So
Have you worked on AWS Lambda?
no.
Which SQL you have hands-on knowledge, like SQL or SQL
Yeah,
databases?
yeah.
Which SQL database you have work on?
I don't remember what version it is right off. I mean, most of the stuff I do is fairly um, just getting checking the information. Uh, you know,
Mhm.
not a lot of. I don't do database engineering.
Okay. And so there are different teams working for database, you are saying.
Yeah, yeah.
But do you know what's the basic difference between SQL and NoSQL databases?
Uh, yeah. So the NoSQL would be like the MongoDB, um, where you can store different like types of objects in there. The sequel's fairly regimented, where you have different types of information that can be stored in the tables, and then using Hibernate to be able to relate those tables over to your Java program.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So like get, have you getting chance to write SQL queries or store prop?
Yeah, yeah. Some.
What's what
Uh,
is the
Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. So I'm asking like what's the difference between a primary key, foreign key, and unique key?
Um, so a primary key is one that is used within a table to distinguish the different rows uniquely. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then a foreign key is the same is a it's a primary key in a table, but the foreign key is used by another table. So it's like a link between two tables. So the foreign key of table A links over to the primary key of table B to be able to uh, access data. The table, I should say.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Oh, and the unique key. I'm sorry. The unique key is one that is just unique. It's for each row. It has a unique identifier. Um, so, so a primary key is a type of unique key.
Mm-hmm. Can a unique key can be a null?
Uh, I'm not sure. I don't think so.
Do you know what's the difference between a cluster index and non-cluster index in database?
Um, some it's to do with how how the index can be sped up or more easily used. Um, but no, I don't recall right off a great deal about it.
Can you write one query to find the second highest salary of an employee?
Sure. Um, um,
You
do
are
it.
sharing your screen.
Yeah, hold on. Let me. Um, ooh, I didn't mean to do that. I just.
You can use Notepad or something.
Yeah, I'll just use uh, uh, let's see, table salary. Um, so I don't know. Well, I'll just call it from table employee
Mm-hmm.
that has a salary. What do you call it? Column. So where and you said the one with the highest column. So I believe there's a max function in there.
Mm-hmm.
Is that it?
Let me choose let's start on the next. This is the only you get the max salary, right? You have to find the second highest salary.
Oh, I'm sorry, second highest salary. So you could do. I think it's. You could do. I'm not sure right off, but I'm thinking like something where you do
Mm-hmm.
sort the basically the return
Mm-hmm.
and then
Okay.
go for the index number two like that.
Subq. Okay. Okay, Raj, I'm done with the interview. Do you have any question for me?
Okay. No, I surely no. Um, uh, I can't really think of anything.
It was nice to talk with you. Yeah.
Yep.
Have a